Well, hello Mavericks, how's it going? It is April 26th. This is Rob Reinhold, and let's jump into the market. The market was an ugly, ugly day today in the equity side. We saw just nothing but selling. From the open to the close, it was selling, 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 selling. S&P down 2.8%, VT down 2.7%. So basically everything around the world down 3%. Let's take a look at the S&P, and this is just a nasty candle here. This candle here, like I said, we opened up at the highs and we closed at the lows. You can't get a worse candle than you saw today. We saw one of those candles here on Friday and on Thursday. These are just nasty, nasty candles telling you there's a lot of downside pressure. Now we are getting to these support levels. We are two support levels that we saw once in February, twice in March, and we're right there. Now, we've been pretty vocal that we are calling for a pierce of these lows. Now, when I use the term pierce, the reason I use the term pierce is that we think that it's going to move through those levels pretty strongly and look really dicey for a couple hours, maybe even a day. And then we do think it's going to probably bounce off of those levels. Now, if we didn't think the market was going to bounce here, we would use other terms. But we do think there's going to be a pierce. Look, if you take a look at where we were just 4 days ago, we were at 450 on the S&P. We're down here around 410. That's like an 8 or 9% move from that high that we saw just last Thursday. The market is deeply oversold here, and when markets are deeply oversold, they tend to bounce. Now look, we have no idea of the timing. This could go down another 3 days, but the point is, it is a risk-off market for sure. And if we take a look at something like the VT, you can see that the VT also is down near its lows. And frankly, it's already breaking through its lows. We had both Google and Microsoft announce earnings after the market, and both of them are down. And so we expect there to be a pretty big gap down tomorrow. So these closing prices, they're going to get a lot worse tomorrow. Ultimately, we think this is going to rocket down tomorrow morning and then probably make a reversal. We go into the cryptos. We have not liked the cryptos for a while, and boy, they broke hard today. And here we are. We've got some more support down here. After that, it looks pretty dicey. I can't remember time in the last couple of weeks or months that I've been this bearish in crypto, but I think crypto is really into the crosshairs here. So if we take a look at our market outlook, we were already at a -2 on the market. We're going to be moving to a -3. Now let's talk about this -3. This -3 means this is about as bad as it gets. It gets so bad that people freak out and people panic and people sell. That is the definition of bottoms. And that's what we call capitulation. When people get to this point, they capitulate. What it means is anyone who was hoping that the market was going to hang on and not break below lows, they're like, you know what? I'm out. I can't handle this anymore. I'm absolutely out. That is the kind of action that we see at bottoms. Now look, we have no idea if or when the market's going to bottom. But what we do know when we get to these intense levels, we tend to see bottoms, but we tend to see some really intense selling. That's why we're looking over the next 48 hours saying, you know what, we are very likely to see very big moves lower and then big rebounds higher. It does not mean that we think this is a bullish market and everything is honky-dory. It just means that we think that we are pretty much oversold at this point. If we take a look at what we have on the calendar later tonight, we've got Australian CPI. That's definitely going to move the Aussie a little bit. And then after that, other than Friday, the core PCE index, there's really not a whole lot on the calendar. So let's jump in and take a look at each of our currencies and see where they stand. As far as today's performance go, cryptos got crushed. As you can see, everything was down 5 or 6 or 7%. I mean, it was across the board, just selling. We have not liked crypto long for a while, and right now crypto is just a flat out sell. It's a flat out sell and it's a flat out short. Foreign currencies are acting wonderfully. This is really good movement. This is really good daily movement. And I'm so happy because in all of 2021, we had below average volatility in Forex. And so we were trading the cryptos more. We were looking at other thing else. Now the Forex is cranking. It's awesome. So take a look at this is a 1-day move. Take a look at pound yen. Pound yen moved about 2.5% in a day. That is a monster move. If you even took a look at something like dollar CAD moved 0.8%. That's just a really good move. There's a lot of meat on the bone here. So we really like foreign currencies here. Let's take a look at each currency one by one. Let's start out with Bitcoin. Like I said earlier, we have not liked any of these cryptos for a while. Really, all the way back here at the end of March was the last time they were showing any bullishness. We've broken down, and since then time, we've been nothing but base and fall. Base, a little rally here, fall. This is just very bearish. We are now breaking below key support levels. The big question is, where is this thing going? And, we have no idea where this is going, but next stop on Bitcoin is likely around this 37.4 area, 37.5 maybe. This is probably the next area for Bitcoin. And then below that, ultimately, we're looking at the low in February, which was 34,400. Bitcoin does not look good here. We think it's a sell. Bitcoin Cash, same thing. We're seeing key levels getting broken. Yes, we've got some support right around this area, but there's just a whole lot of downside. I mean, take a look at, we draw some trend lines here. It's just not good. It's just not a good time for a long entry. It's a much better time for a short entry. Now, Bitcoin Cash has a lot of support down here. So if you're taking a look at the future, once it gets down to this level, it's likely to find a good deal of support. But that doesn't make it an automatic buy. We need to see nice movements and trends, and EMA is moving higher, all the things we look for. Here's Ethereum, and Ethereum, there's nothing good about this chart. There's not one good thing you can say about this chart. It is breaking down, and we're breaking down some lows. And again, it's just really ugly. It's just a really ugly chart. So, we just broke through these levels. I mean, we're going down to 2,500 in my opinion on Ethereum. Litecoin is not going to look any different. In fact, Litecoin looks the worst. And you can see that we are already testing February and March lows. We are just right there. So out of all the four that we're going to take a look at, Litecoin's the worst. It looks the most bearish. So we're just going to throw away cryptos on the long side. If you can go short, go short. It's definitely a trade here. But when we come over to foreign currencies, we talked about this breakout of dollar. And we talked about how significant it was. And once we broke out, it was just a really nice move. And you can see here, we have just continued to move higher with a couple of pullbacks, a couple of bases. We've continued to move higher. So when we take a look at dollar, we've got above the parabolic SARs, we got an EMA crossing up. At these elevated readings, we know that the party's about over and that we're likely about to get a pullback or a base. But we think after a pullback and a base is done, maybe over the next 12 to 24 hours, dollar is going to be a great thing to look at on the long side. Now on the yen, I want to go to a yen daily chart first, because right here, right now, on a short-term 4-hour chart, the yen is cranking. Look at the steepness of this EMA. I mean, it is absolutely cranking right now. Had a monster day. Let's take a look at where it is in the daily chart. And you can see here, okay, we've had a big fall. We had a big fall. I mean, this is like a 12, 13% drop in the month of March. We're having a nice bounce back up. We think there's probably more to this bounce, especially if equities stay weak. So on the daily chart, we don't love the yen, but on a shorter term chart, If we want to say which currency right now has the most momentum to the upside, there's no question it's yen. Yen is cranking right now. Another currency of safety, the Swiss franc, is not cranking. So if you were thinking, oh, I bet the Swiss franc is doing well in this risk-off environment, it's not. And so the price action tells us what to trade and what not to trade. And remember, at Maverick, we always say trade the market in front of you, not the market you want it to be, not the market you think it should be. If you think the Swiss franc should be strong, well, guess what? You are wrong, because the market is telling you you're wrong. We want to stick with the things that are performing the best. And right now, Swiss franc is a 0 -1 at the moment. Now, going into this week, we really liked dollar long. That was our number one pick. And we actually also said that euro long was a potential. As you can see here, euro did well for the first part of the week, but we are now coming down quite a bit. So at the moment, for the next 24 hours, the euro is showing all the things that we see when currencies move lower. We have an EMA that's sloping down. We have parabolic SARs that are sloping down. We have an RSI that's in a downtrend. And so, yes, we liked euro early in the week, but we definitely don't like euro now. We're waiting and seeing what's going to happen. Moving on to the pound. The pound got absolutely hammered today. And just like we showed you the chart of the yen where the EMA was just sloping up like crazy, look at the steepness of this EMA. It's just a very, very intense sell-off. Now, these are hard trades to get into at this point because the market's dropped so much in the pound. We got a little base here. That was a nice entry point. But at this point, we're likely to get a base or a rally. So pound for me looks like a good short, but not right here. I think we got to wait for the pound to move up. So if we go through our currencies right now, we like dollar, we like yen. We don't like Swiss franc, we don't like euro, and we don't like shorting pound here. We think the pound needs to bounce before we short it. Let's finish up with our last three. Here is CAD. Now, CAD was actually our third favorite currency on the long side this week. And you can see it did well, but now it's just pausing here, and we've actually broken some key support levels. And so for me, CAD is like, okay, you know what? I was hopeful for you. I was encouraged at the first part of the week, but at this point, it just doesn't look all that great. I'm not all that excited about it. EMAs are flat to moving down a little bit. We're below parabolic SAR. RSI is sloping down a little bit. I'm like at a -1 on CAD. So while, again, we thought CAD was going to be a little stronger, it's now a little bit on the weak side, but it's not a flat out sell. Let's see if we can find anything that is just a flat out sell at this point. Okay, now here we are. We got the Aussie. Now we do have a downward sloping EMA, which is a great sign. However, we did break above the parabolic SAR here. Let's call it 24 hours ago, as this is a 4-hour chart. Once this thing breaks below the parabolic SAR, that's going to be a -2 in my book at least, and maybe the RSI is going to give me another reading, but that's going to make Aussie shortable. So this is the Aussie basket that we use, the Aussie basket, which is the Aussie against the other 7 currencies we look at trading on an equal basis. Once it breaks below this 79 area, it should most likely really have a good move lower. If we take a look at Kiwi, we're going to see that the Kiwi has already broken below the parabolic SAR. So if you're looking for a trade right here, right now, Kiwi is the tops, meaning it's the best short out there, and yen is looking very, very strong. When we rack and stack them, here you can see there's no question that the only things looking to be bullish is dollar and yen. And they're getting a lot of the capital right now. This is pretty typical in risk-off moves. On the short side, the cryptos look terrible. The pound looks terrible. And the Kiwi and Aussie look tradable for sure. So let's take a look at some of those pairs. Let's take a look at pound dollar, pound yen, Kiwi dollar, Kiwi yen, and Aussie dollar, Aussie yen. Now, the first thing I want to take a look at, we talked about both the dollar and the yen. So the question is, which one's the best? This question is very easy to answer if you simply just pair up the dollar and the yen. Whenever you have a question between two currencies, oh boy, which one should I take? I don't know if I should take this trade or this trade. We'll pair them up. And when you take a look at the pair, you can see here, dollar yen. We take a look at the first part of April, there's no question the dollar was the better trade. Through, April 19th through the 24th, it was about the same. They were about equal. But you can see here over the last 4 to 5 days, the yen has been significantly, not significantly, but stronger than the yen. So that's telling me that the yen is number one. So let's take a look at our currency pairs. I want to take a look first at my best pairing, which is Kiwi Yen. Kiwi was the number one shorting, bearish currency, and yen was my number one bullish currency after my relative strength exercise. As you can see here, we've got a move lower. We had it's hard to call that a rally. I'm going to call this more of a low base here. And then we broke through that low base. So the trigger here was back when it broke the low base. We're now below that point. Okay, I think you have to wait a little bit. But if we can come back up to this 84.20 area, I think this is where you want to be looking to enter a position. If we can get a bounce, we may not get one. We can get a bounce. I think you want to be looking to sell there. My guess is that we simply low base here. And then for me, a drop below 83.40 is a clear entry here on Kiwi Yen. Kiwi Yen to me looks the best of all of them. If we go over to Pound Yen. Pound Yen, it was a huge mover today. And same thing, we saw a move lower, and then we saw a low base. That's all we got. Now take a look at this. This is a good 6 candles. I mean, this is 24 hours of going nowhere before having some momentum to the downside. We've had a lot of energy spent. We're now at the next level. And let's see if there's a major support level around here. And sure enough, there is. We've got a pretty major support level around here at 160. We would expect that the pound yen is likely to bounce here. Now look, that's fine. This is not a great point for an entry point. I mean, we've got RSI down at 23. Again, it's a little late. What we want to do is we want to wait for a bounce. And the first level that we're going to want to watch for a bounce is up to this 162.40 area. 162.40. That's what we're looking for. We could get more of a base than a bounce. And if we do break significantly below this 159.70, I think that's an entry point for pound yen. So these are my 2 best currencies over the next 24 hours. We're likely to have continued selling in equities, weakness in the Asian session, weakness in the European session. We are most likely going to see further risk-off moves, and yen is acting wonderfully at the moment. To wrap this up, we are seeing a very strong risk-off move at the moment. You want to be long dollar, long yen until this ends. I don't know when it's going to end. I don't think it's going to end in the Asian session, maybe in the European session, but my call is that we have a big move down even in the US session, but somewhere in that US session, we bounce. And so I'm really taking a look at these trades, pound yen, Kiwi yen, really until we get into about an hour into the US session. And then I'm really going to be looking to tighten up stops and make sure that I keep gains in case we do get that big bounce. Cryptos look terrible here. They are definitely a sell and a short if you can. So cryptos just don't look good at the moment at all. Thanks for joining me. Everyone take care. Goodbye.